There has been an arrest in one of the highest profile missing persons murder cases that our city has ever seen. I'm Jamie Costello. We're on air right now at ABC 2 News, and we're also streaming this live right now at abc2news.com. And if you have to move away from your TV here this afternoon, you can also pick up your mobile device. You'll be able to watch this news conference. Phylicia Barnes was a 16-year-old honors student from North Carolina. She was up here in Baltimore visiting relatives back in December of 2010, and that's when she disappeared. The exact date was December the 28th. Police believe the last person to see her alive was Michael Johnson, who is the ex-boyfriend of Phylicia's sister, Dina. He's the one being charged. Now, Johnson's name isn't new. He has been questioned several times over and over by the city police department. It took 4 months to find Phylicia's body. She was found a year ago in the Susquehanna River. We got a tip. You better get a camera up there because somebody's body has been pulled from the Susquehanna. Now, between January and April, police searched fields, they went through the ponds, they went in through the woods, and they ran down every single tip that came into the police department. And another strange twist, the lead investigator in the Phylicia Barnes missing and murder case is Detective Daniel Nicholson. He has been suspended from the force for looking into his own missing persons case. His daughter has been found unharmed, but again, the investigation is looking into right now whether he used police influence to find her unharmed, thankfully. Getting back to the Barnes case, though, her story led to a bill called Phylicia's Law, and this forces state police, city, the county, and all the courts all to work better together to find missing people. Again, Greg Bernstein, who is the city state's attorney, is going to conduct this news conference. We're going to find out details of what took so long to bring Michael Johnson in and make the arrest in the murder case. We're talking about 16 months. 16 months. We've gone through the candlelight vigils. We've gone through all the searches. Remember, the phones would ring in here to the newsroom saying we better get a camera out to the woods because they're looking for Phylicia Barnes' body. We don't know if the family's going to be there today at the city police headquarters, and we're anticipating to talk with them later on this afternoon. But again, the big break in this case is that there has been an arrest in what was a missing persons. Now it is a murder case. And we're also going to hear from the city police department to find out what led up to this arrest here. And again, this man has been questioned over and over and over again. Let's go live to city police headquarters, and we can see the podium down there that's been set up here as they are going to address the news conference here. And again, we've been told that it was a 1 o'clock start, so they're running just a little bit behind here. We anticipate the police commissioner to come out. The state police, of course, they were the lead investigators when Phylicia's body was found up there in the Susquehanna River. And if you remember, she was also found along with another man, and that man has been identified, but again, that man evidently committed suicide up there. But again, the worry was Phylicia Barnes and what led up to this. She was an honors student. She was about ready to graduate from high school in North Carolina. She had a whole life ahead of her, and it was all ended on December the 28th. Michael Johnson, evidently the last person to see her alive when she was right here in Baltimore. Okay, we have some doors opening right now, and we're still waiting for the news conference to begin here. Again, we're online at abc2news.com, and again, if you have a mobile device, get it up and running if you have to move away from your TV here this afternoon. This has been going on now for 16 months. 16 months, and you can remember the sisters holding candlelight vigils in trying to get this case resolved. And for 4 months they were searching, and I think we're going to start it right now. Here's Greg Bernstein at the microphone. Let's go live to City Police Headquarters.
I was told that the space in the courthouse that we normally have press conferences was not going to be large enough to accommodate everyone, but given the size of this room, I'm not so sure we couldn't have done it. Are you all ready? We'll wait for everybody else to get in. All right, well, good afternoon. We wanted to make an announcement that Yesterday afternoon, a Baltimore City grand jury indicted Michael Johnson, 28 years old, of Baltimore, Maryland, in a one-count indictment charging him with the first-degree murder of Phylicia Barnes. As many of you know from reports in the press, during the course of the investigation, Miss Barnes, who was 16 at the time, came to Baltimore on December the 17th to visit with her sister Dina and spend time with her. She went missing on December 28th, 2010, and the defendant, Michael Johnson, was the last person to see her alive. The body was subsequently found in the Susquehanna River in Harford County on April the 20th, 2011. Mr. Johnson was arrested and taken into custody without incident last evening, and he is currently incarcerated at the Baltimore City Detention Center, and a bail hearing will be scheduled. We do not know the exact day and time. It likely would be tomorrow, but we're not positive about that. As I have often said, public safety really cannot be accomplished without a cooperative and collaborative effort by all our law enforcement partners. This case is a textbook example of that cooperation and collaboration. There are multiple agencies that participated in the investigation of this case, and without all of their assistance, we would not have been able to take this first step in the criminal process by obtaining this indictment. I would remind everyone that an indictment is not a finding of guilt, but is merely an allegation returned by the grand jury, and that a defendant is presumed innocent until proven guilty at trial. As I mentioned, this was an enormous collaborative effort by all of the agencies that were involved. In particular, obviously the Baltimore Police Department and the entire Homicide Division deserves a tremendous amount of credit for their work. But again, as many of you know, when the body was located in the Susquehanna River in Harford County, the Maryland State Police stepped in to assist and provided enormous assistance and cooperation. It was through their investigative efforts that we were able to continue the investigation, and I would like to send out a special thanks to Superintendent Marcus Brown of the State Police, who is here today, and I want to thank him personally and publicly for all the work that his people did, and in particular Corporal David Feltman, who was the lead investigator from the State Police, as well as Sergeant Rich Bagtel, who was the case manager, both of whom, again, provided enormous assistance. There were so many people from the Baltimore Police Department and the Homicide Department that would be here all day if I named all of them, but they know who they are, and I, as always, want to thank Police Commissioner Bielfeld for the fine work that his people did. In addition to the Baltimore Police Department and the Maryland State Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Baltimore office and their divisions provided enormous assistance. And finally, I want to give a special thanks to Harford County State's Attorney Joseph Casserly, who took on the task of working with the State Police when the body was discovered in the Susquehanna River in Harford County, because of course the Susquehanna River where the body was found is that location, and he deserves a lot of credit for assisting us in this process. Questions?
Mr. Bernstein, it seemed that Michael Johnson was a suspect almost from day one. What has changed?
Well, it would really not be appropriate at all to comment publicly on the nature of the investigation and the steps that were taken. You're making an assumption that may or may not be correct. The fact of the matter is, like in all homicide cases or in all cases. When I say we, the State's Attorney's Office, the Baltimore Police Department, in this case the Maryland State Police, want to be very deliberate and thorough in their investigation before making a determination to present a case to the grand jury.
Do you suspect, obviously, since you have jurisdiction, that the murder happened here?
Venue, we believe, is appropriate here in Baltimore City.
What about, I have another question, Detective Nicholson. His recent suspension, is that going to hurt this case, in your opinion?
Absolutely not. The matter involving Detective Nicholson is a completely separate matter that is currently under investigation. If I thought for a moment that any of the allegations involving him even remotely impacted on this case, we would not have brought it. We feel very confident with the evidence that we have, with the agents and the investigators from all the agencies that I've mentioned who participated in this, and we're ready to go forward.
Sir, what's the relationship to Michael Johnson to the rest of the family?
I don't understand.
Michael Johnson to Phylicia Barnes, have that connection?
Well, I don't want to comment publicly about all the facts of the case, but suffice to say, Michael Johnson knew Phylicia Barnes.
Can you comment on the cause of death?
No, because as you well know, Mr. Fenton, I am ethically bound not to comment publicly about facts that are not alleged within the indictment, and it would be unfair to the defendant and to the victims and their family to comment publicly about those kinds of facts. We will allow that evidence to come out at trial.
Will that become public through the medical examiner's office, though?
Well, the case will proceed, as you well know. Discovery will be produced. To the extent that information is produced, then it will be produced.
The message you have for the Barnes family today?
Well, I certainly think that, or hope, I should say, that it provides them with some measure of closure. This has been a very, very difficult ordeal for them, but I would emphasize that it is an ordeal that all families of victims of homicides face, and this case is really no different in that regard. But I think that the fact that the investigation proceeded for a year before we were able to make the determination to bring charges, put them in some state of limbo. So we do hope it provides some measure of closure, but now we have to move forward with the trial.
Is movement in this case related at all to the suspension of the lead detective assigned to it? And did you all or someone investigate whether or not he broke any rules investigating the Barnes case?
Well, the answer to your first question is no, and the answer to your second question is no.
Do you believe this is the only person involved with Phylicia's death?
Mr. Johnson is the only person that we have indicted in this case.
Is the investigation continuing?
I think in all homicide cases and in all investigations, to the extent that additional evidence comes forward, but we would pursue it. But at the present time, based on a complete and thorough investigation, which I believe strongly was very thorough, again, thanks to the work of the Maryland State Police and the Baltimore homicide detectives, we believe that we've got the right guy.
The single count of murder seems somewhat unusual. Does that indicate that there's some unanswered questions for investigators?
No.
Do you expect any more indictments?
No.
Can you give us any sense of what happened after the last person before Michael Johnson saw her?
Well, again, I don't want to comment about the facts of the case other than what is contained in the indictment, except to say that, as we know, Ms. Barnes went missing, that Mr. Johnson was the last person to see her alive and be with her when she was alive, based on our investigation, and the rest of the facts will come out during the course of the trial.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Joey?
Well, that's it. To be honest with you, we don't know any more coming out of this news conference than we did going into this news conference. The only thing we do know for sure is that a Baltimore City grand jury has indicted Michael Johnson, believed to be the last person to see Phylicia Barnes alive, and that was back on December the 28th. Why now? Michael Johnson was circled. He was watched from day one, so why now? Greg Bernstein will not go into that. We're going to learn maybe details even before it gets into court. We did find out that the murder did happen in Baltimore City. it did happen in Baltimore City, and there was speculation maybe it happened up there in the Susquehanna, up in Harford County, but Bernstein said it happened in Baltimore City. And again, he tried to distance himself away from the detective being suspended, and he said that is a separate matter, and we still don't know the cause of murder. So there are a lot of questions yet, but again, Michael Johnson under arrest, a bail hearing possibly tomorrow in the Phylicia Barnes murder case. We'll have more for you tonight on ABC2news.com. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tonight at 5 o'clock.